Folks, I have some good news. You've probably heard about it, but that doesn't mean it's not worth celebrating. I am happy to inform all of you who are not yet aware that Ohio, Gyat, thank you, has actually racked up a dub, a real one. Coming up soon, there will be, in Ohio, an attempt to vote on a constitutional amendment for the state, I mean, not for the nation, of course, to protect the right to an abortion. Now, based on all demographic projections in the highly gerrymandered state of Ohio, it seemed very likely that that amendment would pass. But Republicans thought of a way to tip the scales in their favor with a quick, rushed-out change to Ohio's law, meaning that in the future, any state amendments would require 60 rather than 50% of the popular vote. Pro-choice amendment would have almost certainly made 50%. We can't guarantee it would have made 60%, so it was vital that this disruptive anti-democratic effort by the Republicans fail. Because again, they're literally trying to pull the goalpost out from, like, this is literally like the ball has been kicked. Yoink, you know? Oh, the majority of Ohio residents want to protect the right to choose to have an abortion if they want. Well, we're just going to raise the bar so that they don't get to make that choice. It's fundamentally anti-democratic. It was incredibly cynical, and the effort to push this Issue 1, it's called, the effort to raise the threshold for voting on amendments from 50 to 60%, was heavily financed by far-right, transphobic, and out-of-state groups. Basically, tens of millions of dollars were spent on it, and they were wasted! Check it out. Ohio voted against Issue 1 by a pretty big margin, too. 57 to 43. That is a 14-point difference, meaning that the pro-choice amendment is essentially guaranteed to go through and pass the 50% threshold. It's unimaginable that it wouldn't. I can't fathom that not happening. It's basically a done deal. They'll never put it past the Republicans to, kick the rug out from under you when you least expect it. They have rejected Issue 1. And in addition to this being incredibly important for the right to choose in Ohio, it is also incredibly important for democracy itself, because this is yet another instance of Republicans desperately trying to change the rules last second to benefit them, rules that they would no doubt ignore or circumvent if they had, something they wanted to get through quickly. In fact, if I remember correctly, there was actually a rule put forward that no, further provisions or referendums were going to be voted on in Ohio until the pro-choice one, meaning that, and that was put forward by Republicans. So they were like, okay, no more referendums, but except for this one right here, special Issue 1, which we're going to try to use to, prevent people from voting in the affirmative on the next one. Like, absolute bullshit. Like, just sickening scum. Let me see if I can find, hold on. Issue 1 ad, because they were really throwing money at the wall here. They did this Issue 1 transphobic. Yeah, there it is. From Protect Women Ohio, a very authentic and very real Ohio-based women's advocacy organization. Funded from out of state, it has nothing to do with women. Get ready for a fantastic ad, folks. Really great.
You promised you'd keep the bad guys away. Protect her. Now's your chance. Out-of-state special interests that put trans ideology in classrooms and encourage sex changes for kids are hiding behind slick ads. Don't be fooled. You can keep this madness out of Ohio classrooms and protect your rights as a parent by voting yes on August 8th. Keep your promise to her. Vote yes on August 8th.
So again, keep in mind, Issue 1 was about raising the threshold for constitutional amendment changes, and it was largely about blocking a pro-choice amendment. It has nothing to do with trans people. Literally, through explicit and implicit, in an interpretation, there's literally nothing. It's a complete non sequitur. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing. And they lost. This shows you how desperate the GOP is, how hard they're floundering. The abortion issue is meaningful to them because it's a carrot they can dangle in front of their voters. It's something that gets the boomers up out of bed to vote against their opposition. So what are they going to do to sell people on issue one? Well, here's the thing, folks. If they run ads saying, vote yes on issue one to keep people from being able to vote on the next amendment for on pro-choice issues, that kind of gives the game away, doesn't it? Like, they can't really say that. They can't say, yeah, it's suddenly really important for us to vote yes on issue one because, well, we're trying to block the next amendment, you know? Like, we're purely doing this to cynically cut out the democratic process just in time to... They can't really say that. So how do you get Republicans to turn out for issue one? Just say whatever the f*** you want, bro. Just say any old shit. Drag queen story hour, yeah. Gender unicorn, whatever, bro. Yeah, man, whatever. Just throw it all at the wall, see what sticks. Just, yeah, oh, yeah, man. And it failed. Don't you think this speaks a little bit to the desperation of the GOP? I think it does, personally, because they don't really have, like, an overlying narrative anymore outside of anti-woke gender shit, right? That's it. Literally, like, that's... They've sold their entire party over to this. They don't talk economic issues. They don't even talk about immigration that much anymore. And that's like an area ripe for dog whistling. But I'll tell you why they don't talk about immigration as much, folks. Because they're banking on increased Latin support in future elections. Because that's one of the reasons why Florida and Texas have shifted the way they have. Because Latin people voted more for Trump than was expected. They've probably dialed off the anti-immigration shit, at least like a bit, at least not made it like a big national focus. Because it's almost impossible to have a national campaign of anti-Mexican immigration without also being really racist against Latin Americans, and they want to lean away from that. So they've kind of fucked themselves here, you know? And it's really, 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 really funny. Fox News hasn't mentioned Ohio Gyat once in 24 hours. Really? From Aaron Rupar, who I think we can fairly trust, mentions on Fox News primetime tonight, Ohio referendum, 0. Hunter Biden, 47. This is a huge embarrassment for them. I mean it. Like, tens of millions spent, no message except for the same template of anti-trans hysteria they've been using all over the country. It failed. I don't know, man. It's pretty funny. So I say, let's accept the dub. Thank you, Ohio. Gyat. Only in Ohio could we have gotten a 14-point no lead on issue one. Thank you very much, Gyat. Only in Ohio, Gyat. Sussy. Amogus. Gyat. This article has a breakdown of where the issue one funding came from. Don't end the segment yet. Thank you for the link. I think that's a great thing to go over. Except the dispatch is a paywall block, Dave Rubin. Can somebody fix that? Yes, there were protests against the anti-choice efforts by the GOP. Ohio is a very gerrymandered state in terms of, like, I think in terms of proportional representation, it's something like 60% of their state house is Republican and like 70% of their state house is Republican, but they're like 50-50 GOP to Democrat or something like that. Like, it's a huge disparity in terms of their system, which is why they also want to raise the bar substantially for referendums, because those would trend in our favor. I really want to see that dispatch article, the Columbus Dispatch. Imagine being arrogant enough to paywall your local newspaper. More than 80% of contributions to campaigns surrounding Ohio Issue 1 came from outside the state. Do you know how insane this is? For a state constitutional amendment to a change within a state, for 80% of its funding to come from outside of the state? This was so obviously not about Ohio. What? This is words. Your gifted link does nothing. Words? I can't read. Yes, I have seen this, where the votes came from. The orange dots on the map represent no votes. The blue dots represent yes votes. That shows the proportional bias in every district. And as is the case for basically every thing that happens in America today, it is a rural versus city divide. See? All the big spots of no came from Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Dayton, basically. And then every other area, except for the Cleveland broader metropolitan area, voted yes. It's crazy how quickly things changed, you know. Back when I started streaming, there was a significant contingent of white conservative voters in suburbs, upper middle class, in city areas, or at least next to them, who would tend to vote with the Republican Party on most issues. But the suburbs have grown less white pretty quickly, and the suburbs have gotten a lot bluer. Now it's pretty much just a rural versus urban divide. A lot of this is a poverty issue, but keep in mind the average wealth of a GOP voter is higher than the average wealth of a Democrat voter, because a lot of poor people in this country are in rural areas, and there are lots of, are in urban areas, and there are lots of rural black people who do not use their poverty as an excuse to vote for fascism. Thanks, black people. You're always doing so good. Thank you. Yeah, it really is mostly at this point in time an educational divide. People in rural areas are largely stupider than people who live in cities for a wide variety of reasons that tie into class, educational attainability, but a big part of it is also diversity. If you live in a city, like if you live in, I don't know, Seattle, for example, it's really difficult to be a conservative because all of their bigoted messaging falls flat because you know people from every group they mention. Mexicans, you know Mexicans. Black people, you know black people. Asians, you know Asians. Trans people, go to Capitol Hill. Every other person there is trans. Gay people, you can't escape gay culture in Seattle. And it's all fine. It's all good. Things are good. Not perfect in Seattle. Coastal cities are shitholes of their own, but like the diversity part is good. So you can't really become a conservative. Where's that messaging going to land? How are kids going to grow up to be far right when they grow up with non-binary friends? It just doesn't math out. People in rural areas, though, a lot easier to sell on these narratives because they haven't met the people they hate. I'm not saying this is uniformly the case, but I do think this explains, for the most part, the current divide in America, the rural versus urban divide. And it's only going to grow more significant with time, because more money is being stripped from rural areas. Over time, it is getting more severe, the inequality. We'll see. Yeah, I think it's interesting to compare these results to the... Oh shit, that's the chat. To compare these results to the results of the 2020 election, where Donald Trump got 53% of the popular vote, but on issue 1, no got 57%. It's interesting how that works, huh? Also, keep in mind, a lot of people turned out for issue 1. Altogether, about 3 million people came out, whereas for the presidential, about 6 million people came out. I know that sounds like a big difference, but the 2020 presidential election was the highest electoral turnout of any event ever, basically. And a special, like, referendum is much lower. Like, that generally has, like, a much lower level of engagement. A lot of people turned out for issue 1. A lot of people. Means a good amount of pro-choice Trump voters. Believe it or not, folks, a lot of Republicans are pro-choice. I know that sounds crazy, but polling has been done for the GOP, and something like half of Republicans think that Roe v. Wade should not have been revoked, or they thought that before it got revoked. I don't remember the exact numbers. Kansas rejected the anti-choice constitutional amendment, despite Kansas being a Republican stronghold. Things aren't looking good for the GOP. They're running out of issues to fixate on. And as a final note to this overly long segment that my editors are going to have to cut some silent bits out of, I just want to say thank you very much to every person who phone banked and canvassed with Progressive Victory. I know for a fact that you guys did a lot of good, and I got emails and DMs from people saying that while they were doing their other unaffiliated canvassing and phone banking, they ran into people from our community. That's right, people from Progressive Victory acting in Ohio, people from this community were identifiably, recognizably being met by others who knew that they were with Progressive Victory. They were a known element, and they helped. So thank you, really. This time I'm ending the segment for good. Wait! Sorry, somebody in chat said, end the segment on this for your PV volunteers. And I thought it would be something meaningful, but it was something stupid. It was stupid, actually. I shouldn't have said wait. Ohio Republicans after Ohio votes against their attempt to subvert democracy, and it's a crying soy jack elephant. It's dumb. It's dumb. Okay, end the segment. Stop. We're not doing it again.